Hello, and welcome to another Win Daily Sports Show. My name is Michael Raziel. I am joined here by my man, Sia Najad. I am joined here by Joel Schreck at Draftmaster Flex. And we are here to talk about the Corrales Puntacana Resort and Club Championship. Doesn't that just sound, it just sounds so nice. It sounds warm. It sounds comfortable. I'm up here in the Northeast. It's starting to get cold. It's like 65 degrees. It's a little too much for me personally. But Sia, I might be coming down to join you in Florida one of these days soon. So we'll start with you, Sia. Do you recycle?
Wow. First of all, that's breaking news. Can't wait to hear about that. I do recycle. Yeah,
Okay.
we've been recycling for like probably 5, 6 years now, which probably is
Wow.
behind the curve,
I
but
was gonna say,
whatever.
yeah, you guys took your time getting there. Joel, do you recycle?
We do. So it's funny. I really believe in it. It's important, right? It's good. It's good to do something to help out.
Yep.
But from being completely honest, it's because my building makes it super easy to do it.
Okay.
Where they already have it broken up, or you just have to drop it in one bin and it's right there. So that what led me to recycling is how easy it is. But now that I do it, I feel really good about it.
Hell yeah. And little intrinsic, little extrinsic for you psychology majors out there, you marketing majors. So look at that. We all recycle. None of us wear our wedding rings. I think that's very important too. We're gonna have some polls coming up throughout the show weekly. I think this might be some fun. But thank you, everybody. We are here to talk about golf. We are here to talk about DraftKings. We're going to bet. We're going to make some money. It's going to be fun. Last week, Bryson, only person under par. Didn't see that one coming. You guys both said like he has a possibility. I don't think either of you were on him too much. Maybe you were, Joel. Nope. And I appreciate the honesty from both of you there. But no one was on him, at least over here. And we still made some money. So that's always nice as well. See how just quickly on the US Open, how did you enjoy that time, your time at Winged Foot, considering I've been there so many times I didn't really pay attention too much?
I mean, just from a betting and DFS standpoint, it was really frustrating because I mean, I can't speak for every Win Daily writer's picks, but I know mine were really on point other than the fact that I didn't have the winner. I mean, I really didn't have him in any lineup. So it was frustrating because I was able to win money because I had a lot of the guys up top, but I probably should have peppered in a couple of them. We did mention it last week that,
Yep.
taking Bryson with a Rory, for example, would be super contrarian given their ownership. So it's a little frustrating, with football season around. I got to be honest, like it's a little harder for me to get my lineups in on time. And if I had just taken my own advice maybe a day earlier, I would have had some Bryson shares. So here we are.
Here we are. It's okay though. I think we had some fun. Shout out Bryson. I don't know if he deserves it. Turns out everyone kind of hates the guy, so like whatever. Joel, how did you feel about that US Open? Especially on Sunday. I was watching it in the morning and then immediately at like 12:50 I was like I'm not going to watch this anymore. I'm just watching football.
Yeah, I mean, I watched very little of it because it was over, and football was on, right? So if there wasn't football, I probably would have watched it. But there was something else to go to. Listen, at the end of the day, he deserves it. He earned it. He went 6 under in a very very difficult course. I mean, he easily, even with that lead, like the way that course was playing, you saw a professional golfer four putted one of the holes, right? So it was it six putt? It was like a ridiculous. So
It
like
was a six putt.
it was a six putt. It was a six putt.
Mm-hmm.
So anything could have happened. Like he easily could have choked that lead. He didn't. He played really well. And it's one of those things that I go back to. I know it's really hard to do, but this is how you have to play golf DFS. He's too good at golf to be completely faded week to week, even though he's not playing well. That's the same thing happened with DJ, right? DJ collapsed, wasn't playing well for a few weeks, and then like we were all starting to fade him, and it was like he's too good to keep fading. Like he's gonna come around, and you have to be on him when he does because then you're too late. And that's what happened with Bryson this week. And it's hard to predict that week to week, but that is a thing, right? Like these guys that are in the top 10, they don't just not finish well for months at a time. So you just got to be able to pick them into different spots like this.
Except Rory, I guess at this point. I haven't really seen that guy do anything yet, but maybe the next time around it's his.
He's on the horizon, to be honest with you. He's coming.
It's coming. Watch out. Joel's going to be on him because he's never not on him, I guess. It's a good way to play it. Is a good way to play it. So we are here to talk about, again, I need to get this right, the Corrales Puntacana Resort and Club Championship. Again, it just sounds gorgeous. And see, as I said, maybe I'll come visit you. It's more out of I just hate the cold weather, and it's already too cold for me here in New Jersey, so I kind of just want to get the hell out of here. But that's a conversation for my now wife and I to have. But it's not really a conversation because she says no, and look at that. I'm going to be stuck here Forever. So is this what marriage is like? Maybe you guys should have told me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. She's great and I love her a lot. So let's talk about what we got rocking and rolling here. So 2 weeks ago, nobody in the friggin' field. Last week, obviously, it was a major, gigantic. It was fantastic. We loved it. There were so many people. It was an absolute blast. This week, scrolling through this list, who's this guy in first? Who's this guy that's 10-9? Who is this guy?
Well, Will Zalatoris, who a
Oh.
lot of people are going to like this week because he finished 6th last week at a very, very, very tough U.S. Open.
So just because of that, this dude gets his 10. So we'll get to that, I guess. But yeah, it's a weird. We're down in Puntacana. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be fantastic. But this field is made up of some dudes we know, some guys that should be 6K and now they're 9-9. Talking Adam Long, maybe not 6K. That's a little mean, but it's one of those courses again, man, where I'm gonna be shaking my head saying, oh, M. Schwab, of course, yeah, Luke List, that guy, all right. So Sia, I guess talk to me a little bit. What the hell? What are we gonna be? Are we gonna be watching this weekend? I mean, of course we're gonna be watching, but are we really gonna be watching?
So yes, for a couple reasons, but okay, one, this is normally an alternate event, and because it's in the
Okay.
Dominican, a lot of like the regular guys that might play aren't going to leave the country
That
to play
makes
this
sense.
particular tournament. It's not an alternate tournament this year. It's like a real PGA FedEx Cup, kind of deal. But the reason why we're going to watch is because, in my opinion, at least with my experience, whether it's betting or DFS, I tend to do much better in these fields than I would like the really aggressively talented fields like the US Open or the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a me thing. I'm not speaking for everybody, but the reason is because it's a lot easier to pick out the diamonds in the rough in a field like this versus the US Open, where you just have literally all of the talented people. And even a guy that's like 25th on the totem pole at the US Open can just outright win the thing because that 25th ranked person is very, very good. So here, I only think there's a handful. I mean, not a handful. To me, there's maybe like 10 to 12 guys that can win this thing that are just like a grade above the rest of the field. So I think there's opportunity here is my point.
So I think you just like humble bragged yourself into being a sharp, if I'm not mistaken. Is that kind of...
I mean, you're giving the definitions out.
Okay.
I'm just talking.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. And you're doing a great job talking. That's why we love you having you here. Joel, how about you? Do you like these, I guess, less packed, for lack of a better term, these types of tournaments as one we had a couple weeks ago?
So I'll start by saying typically no. I think to me, I think these can become more of like a randomness. Some guy that's like way down there you never heard of gets involved, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint those guys. So like when we had the one 2 weeks ago, I was very light. I just was kind of felt lost. I didn't play that much. However, this week I feel good. There's something about the statistics of this course. The field is, I think, a little bit improved from that one from 2 weeks ago. There's something that the data that I'm reading about how this course should play, the course history. I feel like I have some solid plays, and not just from like Sia was saying, some of those 40, 50 range guys who are now top tier guys who we want to target, but also even further down because of course history and guys who played here before and we have data. I feel like I have a really good feel for this field, so I'm definitely gonna be playing strong this week.
Very excited. Sia, before we hop into that top tier of players, how's the course going to do this week? The course ran train on everybody, and it was a joke last week. Obviously, Bryson, the only guy under par. How is the course going to do this week? Is it going to be a little easier? Is the course going to win again? How do we feel about it?
If I may, This is the only golf show where we will talk about golf and we will use the metaphor ran train. So welcome to Win Daily.
Did you watch?
Listen,
everybody but Bryson, man.
Michael, I'm not criticizing you. I think it's awesome that you said that. And I'm just saying, like, we're bringing a little bit more flavor than your regular podcast is all, or live stream, I should say. So this is going to be the opposite of what we had last week. And I actually mean that, like literally the opposite. I don't want to predict the score because you never know what the wind is going to be and things like that. But this is literally a resort course, which means you're going, I mean, you don't have like your Tiger Woods of the world, like rolling up to this particular course and like being challenged, let alone like a Luke List, like you brought up. So no, this is going to be a birdie making course. The guys that you can attack the hole, the fairways are super wide. The greens are very, hittable, even from awkward locations. So you're going to see some low scores. So I think Joel and I are probably on the same page. We're probably going to be looking for guys that are long. Although that's not a prerequisite, it's helpful because short hitters have won here before. But we're going to be looking for guys that are long, guys that are probably good in good form. And I'm speaking for Joel. He can speak for himself, obviously, but also guys like he said that have experience on this course. Good experience on this course.
Thank you, Sia, and for Joel as well on that one. And the reason why I asked was because last week I know with the U.S. Open we were very specific on there's not going to be a lot of birdies, so we're really just trying to get dudes in the top 10, top 15, top 20 because that's how we're going to get all our points. This week it sounds like we can play the Ryan Palmers of the world. Shout out Ryan Palmer. Maybe we can get him on the podcast. That would be sweet. Ooh. Everybody listening or whatever, tag Ryan Palmer, get him on the show. But it sounds like we're going to be able to go after guys that are going to be a little more erratic. But we kind of almost are going to want that a little bit. But it also sounds like there's not going to be. Yeah. Once you said, I know I said resort multiple times. But once you said it's a resort course, that definitely brings to mind like these 80-year-old dudes that are just going out to have some fun. They shoot 5 over and they're like, honey, I played a great game today. And I'm sure. So these guys, so it's going to be the opposite. The field is going to, if I may, again, run train on this course, it sounds like. Joel, would you agree?
100%. See, I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm completely aligned with.
He said it for you, so.
He said it for me, and he could have.
Look at that.
What I was going to say. When I start preparing for a tournament, like who I'm going to play, how I'm going to break it down, I first look at the course metrics. So, like, where do you want to find guys that are gaining strokes in what categories, like, that you want to target? And the first thing I saw was distance. So that's, clearly, like, we want long hitters this week. And that's the easiest one to narrow down because you can for the most part, if you're playing golf every week, you know who the long hitters are. And if you need to research a little bit for the lower down the tier guys for who's hitting longer, I spent 20 minutes doing that earlier today. And now I feel like I know, like, who's bombing the ball in this course. Like, I got a good feel for it. And the other thing Sia said is right, is there's been a tournament here the last 3 years. So we have stats on how guys have performed here. And there are some guys that I've literally never heard of that have been in the top 10 each of the last 2 or 3 years. So that's something you want to know, guys that are performing well on this course, and definitely something that, listen, there's a guy I never heard of. I'm going to have shares of this week because if he's got top 10 in the last 2 years, I'm sure he can do well again.
I love it. And see, people, all it takes is 20 minutes. No, I'm kidding. Of course not. Joe puts a lot more than 20 minutes of work into all of his lineups. I can promise you that. So let's jump into it. Let's look at this list. We have a couple dudes in this 10K range. Sia, I'll throw it to you. Zalatoris, Connors, Hughes, Burns. I mean, none of these guys are supposed to be in the 10K range, but it just turns out today they are because there's nobody else in this field. Is this going to be one where, again, it was a couple weeks ago where we didn't really have to take any 10K guys because they're usually 6K guys. So who the hell cares where everybody else is? You kind of just pick whoever you want, or are there a few of these guys up top that you are really going to try and pinpoint?
Only one in particular. So I'm not going to buy into the Will Zalatoris hype just because it's really such a small sample size, as good as he was last week. And he's been good on the Corn Ferry Tour and, places like that. But I'm not in. He shouldn't be the highest priced guy. I mean, he's the highest priced guy on just last week, essentially, as far as I'm concerned. The guy that I think should be the highest priced guy, and the guy that I immediately, when I saw, basically the roster of players that was playing this week, I was like, oh, that guy's going to win the tournament. So he's definitely one of the guys that I think is going to win the tournament. And his name is Sam Burns. Sam Burns is a long hitter. He's an accurate hitter. He fits perfectly for this course. The last tournament he played, I believe, was the Safeway. He finished, I think it was 7th place. So he's coming in good form. And I just think he's the best. I don't want to say he's the best golfer in this field, but he is the golfer that is, to me, that is most likely to go really low for 4 days straight. And so I don't want to dip into the 6K range this week. So a lot of my lineups are going to be a little bit more balanced. You can definitely afford to do that. But if I'm going to dip up to this range, it's going to be Sam Burns. He's the lowest of this 10K range at 10,100.
Love it. How about you, Joel? Are you going to be on Mr. Zatalis? As DraftKings is telling me, he is 1 of 1 for cuts made. So that's pretty impressive, right?
I apologize. I was just looking through our text and seeing, maybe you can remember. I actually didn't know who this was until last week when we have like a group chat with all the golf writers on the site. And now I want to give them credit, but I can't remember who posted it. Somebody was like, I'm on Zalatoris. I'm like, who the heck is that? I don't even know who that is. And then he ended up popping. He had a really good week. So that's what put him on my radar. I do like him this week. I just, for someone I just found out who he was last week to be that highly priced, it's going to be hard for me to have a lot of exposure to him, just because I don't want to pay that much for someone in this field. I just feel like It's there's not anyone that has that big of an advantage to be that price. So I like him. I just due to roster construction, I'll probably be low on him.
That makes sense. How about the rest of this 10K range? Is there anybody in here that, as Sia pretty much pinpointed one gentleman that he's all for? Is there one or two guys that you're liking?
So I'm pretty much fully in sync with Sia on this range. I really do like Burns. If I were to have exposure to anyone, Burns is the guy. I like all four guys in this range. Connors and Hughes. If you notice, like a lot of the models that we run and stuff like that before tournaments, Connors always pops. He's just like a model guy. And, he sometimes plays well. He probably just always does better in the models than he does, in real life. I just like Mackenzie Hughes. I played a lot of him over the last month or so. He's just playing well. However, I think the issue, again, it's a roster construction thing. I just think there's just not that big of an advantage for the price difference. So I like them all. I might try and get one or two of them, in my lineups here and there, but I'm going to have less of them strictly because of price and how I'm building my lineups, and less because of talent or skill.
And of course, we also always like to point out it's that roster construction is one of the most important things, obviously, and picking the players, but it's also the tournaments that you're getting into. So if you are curious, we are going over this from a large field GPP in most situations because, hey, we're here to make money, right? We're not here to double up $10. I mean, I am. But I'm also cheap as hell, so it's a little different here. But we are looking at this from a large field GPP perspective. If you do have questions on 3 max, on 20 max, on single entry, Sia crushes single entry, especially in NFL on these 150 tournaments. WinDailySports.com/chat. You get 7 free days in our Discord chat where you can talk to Sia, you can talk to Steven, you can talk to Isaiah, you can talk to Joel, you could talk to Patrick. I feel like I'm missing one person. Antonio. You can talk to all these guys, and Nick too. Nick loves golf. I know he's all about NFL right now, as he should be, but I'm sure if you send him a message, he'd answer you. So WinDailySports.com/chat, 7 free days in the Discord. You can ask the questions because roster construction is very important, and also tournament selection is as well. So Sia, only a couple of these guys are even 10K and above. A few guys, the 9K range is a little bit bigger. Adam Long, I know that guy. Henrik Stenson, I know that guy. Is that Brandon Grace?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Then I know that guy too. Look at that. Talk to me a little bit about this 9K range. It sounds like we're going to be a little bit heavier here than at least we were in that 10K range.
Yeah, for sure. A couple guys I like. I'm not really super impressed with this range, but a couple guys I like are Griot, who I've been on the last couple of months. I think since the restart, I don't think he's missed a cut. So he's one of the and those are mostly in fields that are a lot more impressive than this. So he's good off the tee. He's great on approach. His putter is what always fails him, and that could fail him this weekend too. But it's just one of those things like. Turning around the putter is a lot easier to do than turning around your terrible approaches and things of that nature. So in this field, I actually like him quite a bit. And then Denny McCarthy, he's coming off a missed cut, not the US Open. I think it was the Safeway that he missed the cut. And I hope that sort of keeps his ownership down. I mean, he's tracking at around 18%, which is kind of high. Actually, it's really high, at least for this range. But, he grades out really well off the tee on approach. Honestly, like looking at his ownership percentage, he's probably a better cash game play than a GPP. But again, in a field like this, you can get different in so many other places that if you really like Denny McCarthy, don't worry about playing the chalk. Like, Steven has his article and in the expert chat, he tells all the subscribers like how you make your lineup different. He actually gives like the exact metrics of, how you should compute that. And you can absolutely take Burns and McCarthy, who are like kind of chalky, and then get different in other places. So I like McCarthy quite a bit. And then the rest of this, I think Christopher Ventura is solid. He's been really good lately. But the rest of this range, I'm not on Brandon Grace. I'm not on Sepp Straka, Dietrich, Pat Perez. So I would go with Ventura. He's my third place guy, and Griot and McCarthy are like tied for first in this range.
Mm-hmm. And no Adam Long. You've been on him for a while too now.
No, I've been off and on him for a while. Okay. A lot of people are on him. If I look at his, he's only actually 12%. So that's pretty attractive. I will definitely not be fully fading Adam Long. So if I'm doing, let's say, I always say this, like, let's say I'm doing 10 lineups, which normally I'm doing like 20 to 25, but okay, let's say I'm doing 25 lineups. I'll have at least 4 with Adam Long, but that's not a huge number. Maybe 3 with Adam Long, and then the rest I'll tighten it up with the 3 guys I mentioned.
Love it. That is fantastic. How about you, Joel? How this 9K range? Who are you feeling?
Well, first I need to, because I had to do this because I felt bad. I have to credit Stephen Pilardi, the Sicily kid. He's the one who brought up Zalatoris last week. He was spot on. It was a great play. Now he's the highest priced player in the field. So just like that, in a week, how things can change.
It's the win daily bump. I think that's exactly what it is.
Precisely.
It's happening.
That's a common factor that we see in the fields. But in this range, I think this is a good thing, right? I think when you have two people that play golf a lot, like me and Sia, and we're aligned on a lot of the things, I think that's showing something, right? There's a reason why we're kind of targeting and seeing the same thing. So it's probably good that we're probably seeing the same things, and I have some similar plays, but my plays are going to be very similar to Sia's in this range. I do like Denny McCarthy a lot. He's actually one of my favorite plays. My percentages on him won't be as high for that same reason. I think he's a little overpriced, but of anyone in the top tier, he's probably my favorite play. Keep in mind also, he tied for 26 last year here and got 4th in 2018. So he has proven this course. He's played well here. So I'll definitely have my exposure to him. I think what's happening for me as I'm going through my roster discussion this week and thinking about things is seeing these guys in this price is throwing me off because I'm like, it's not what price you should be. And even though it's a smaller field, maybe you are accurate. There is something to like the gap. Like there's a bigger gap between Bryson, JT, Morikawa, and the normal and these guys than there is between these guys and what we're going to see in the 7 and 8 field. So, to me, these guys and the guys in the next tiers, 2 tiers below, aren't that big a change. So if I can just get more of those guys in one lineup, it's probably better roster construction. So for the most part, I'm not taking too many of these guys. I like McCarthy. I like Sepp Straka. So 2 things to know about Sepp Straka. You're going to make fun of me for the second one, but the first one being he does hit the ball really far, so this is what you need to do on this course. The second one, and I've never said this publicly, but this is something that happens in my head. So
okay, wait. Sia, I need you to look at the camera, please.
You guys are definitely going to make fun of this, and you should because it's stupid, but it's something I can't get away from. So with football, with golf, with all DFS, a thought process I can't get away from is this. So for football, the way it comes up is, you have two slates. So you play 1 o'clock games and 4 o'clock games. In golf, right, the thought is more around like, the guys who played well on day 4 because that's when you're cashing, that's when all the action is. So for me, I always tend to slightly lean toward guys who in football who are playing in the 4 o'clock games and in golf who have round 4 low scores. Because I know when round 4 comes, I need them to do well, and that's how I'm going to cash my lineup. So it's not listen, it's not a logical thing. You don't play better in a tournament because you do well in round 4s. But I know that if I have guys that tend to do better on round 4 heading into the last day, I'm going to feel good opposed to I don't want to be in first on day 3 and then get passed. That doesn't get me there. I need to be in first on day 4. So that's what you're going to make fun of me for because it's stupid logic, but I can't get it out of my head. I just need to be targeting guys who do well at the end.
Joel, do you want to hear the funny joke about all this?
What?
You're the guy that cashes $50,000. Sia and I are not the guys that are cashing $50,000 multiple times. Nope. So the joke's actually on us. So if you want to laugh at us, you're more than welcome, man. You are more than welcome.
Also, I think that's sound logic. You're basically saying guys that can finish tournaments and guys, unless I'm wrong, unless I'm interpreting it wrong, guys that are good in the clutch. If you want to call the round 4 the clutch, the 4th quarter in football, the analogy is kind of perfect as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I guess it's less sound logic in football because I'm just playing guys in the later slate because I don't want to keep getting passed. But for golf, yes, you're right. It is sound logic because it's playing strong in the clutch. But
yeah, I'm gonna agree with Sia on the golf part. On the football part, that unless there's better plays in the 4 o'clock games, the late game hammer is always fun to watch. You just rise up the draft or up the leaderboard, but. Anyway,
the analogy was an F, but the logic was an A. So that's all we need right there.
In my defense, what I actually do is when I build my football lineups, I always just build one that's heavily stacked to the late game. So my day's never over. I always at least am alive for the late game because I have that one lineup that's heavily stacked late. So that's a lot. It's more for fun than it is for making money. But that's how I get through my Sunday.
That is the worst strategy.
Yeah, that makes zero sense. But if you can, hey man, if you're happy, that's the only thing that matters. Again, you're the guy that cashed 50,000, not me. I can only say so much. The fantasy gods are on your side, Joel.
It's true. It's
Did
true.
you have any more notes on this 9K range, or
Yeah, the only so I like Dan McCarthy. I really like Straka. The only other two guys in this range I might have a little exposure to, but I'm not targeting.
wait, actually, wait 1 second. Where did that analogy come from? Like, was there somebody that does really well, or like where did that come from?
Very good point. No, we almost blew the whole point of the segment. Yes.
Yeah.
Sepp Straka is super strong on round 4. So his round 4 scoring average is like one of the best on tour. So that's why I'm always on Sepp Straka. And keep in mind, knowing that is not because I didn't look up that stat for this tournament. I know that because I play Showdown and I looked up round 4s, and I always know he does well on day 4s on Showdown. And so I just knew that going into this tournament. So when I saw him there, I was like, oh, it'll be nice to have him on Sunday because you know he's going to be good on Sundays. And now he's priced high. He's one of the better players in the field. He's long, which is course like. So a lot of things are pointing in his direction. So yes, thank you for reminding me to get that. And then the last two guys that I will target, but just a little bit of, are Ventura. More of it's like a form. He's a good golfer. He's in good form. Should kind of play well on this course. And Pat Perez. And Pat Perez because I just think Pat Perez is probably one of the better golfers in the tournament. And I think, at this price range, you're getting pretty good value. I could see him popping this week and getting a win. So I'm not betting him to win. He's not my favorite, but I definitely will have a couple shares similar to CSA, maybe 5% or so.
Fantastic. Analogy terrible, but the logic, it works for me, man. On golf, not on football. Sia, do you have any, I guess, weird analogies or things that you do on Sundays that you want to tell us about?
Actually, weird things that I do. So, I placed second out of 2,000 in the one of the single entry contests for a $3,000 win. So just so you know, I only had Austin Eckler going in the 4:00 games, and I refused to check DraftKings the entire 4:00 slate. And of course, Anthony Lynn decides that Swift is the better running back at 2.8 yards per carry over the veteran Eckler, who was at 5.8 yards per carry. So I was worried I was going to drop down to like $200, but I didn't know if I did or not because I just wasn't checking. And then finally, when that game ended in overtime, I checked and I was somewhat relieved. That team had Brashad Perryman on it, so I should have absolutely outright won that. But whatever, it happens.
Well, you played Brashad Perryman, so I guess that's kind of on you.
Against a defense that had half of its players. So in playing in garbage time on offense, it just seemed like the right play.
With an offensive head coach in Adam Gase who's terrible. But this is not a football show. Joel, do you have one quick thing to say?
I need to tell a quick story. Now we're on this topic. I have to tell the story.
Damn it, Sia. All right, let's go.
So what really got me into really like propelling my DraftKings career was last year. It was a 3-game slate. It was toward the end of the year. It was like a Saturdays only. Remember, they do like a couple games on Saturday. And at that day, it was last year, Houston was playing Tampa. If you remember, those were the two of the worst defenses in the league. And it was Saturday. Houston-Tampa was a 12:00 game. The ownership in that game was like every player because that was supposed to be the complete shootout. The last game of the day was Rams-Niners. So I did like exactly what I say I do, which is just non-logical. I had one lineup that was just focused on the late game and really just kind of faded the early game. Well, that early game ended up being a defensive battle. They barely scored. The late game was a shootout, and I won $100,000 and won the tournament. Ooh. So from that standpoint, my logic is flawed, but it works. It works.
If it works, it works. I remember that game. I think that one went to overtime, right? And I think the Rams ended up pulling that one out. I think it was something weird. It's way towards the end of the season, the Saturday game. So shout out for you. I actually sat all my Rams players in that game in my season long, and I lost my championship. So shout out to me on that one. Let's go back to golf now. We'll make fun of Sia for playing Austin Eckler and Josh Kelly and Brashad Perryman tomorrow on our betting line show where we talk mostly betting. We sprinkle in a little of that DFS. We're going to have Nick Bretwish back on with us. He got a little, he was a little sad he wasn't with us the week before, but he understands. He's a big boy. Sia, talk to me about this 8K range. As we've been saying most of this time, the difference between 8 and 9K is only so much. So how are you looking at this? I mean, Luke List is a guy. I mean, this range isn't even that big either. Henrik Norlander, Adam Schenk. I know all these guys are practically.
Yeah, and by the way, when I first like before I do any research, I just look at the roster and I like make a few outrights right off the bat. And actually, Luke List at 45 to 1 was one of the guys I just picked without really looking at anything. And frankly, if you look at Luke List in terms of his recent form, it's not very good. So, but I just think Luke List, especially immediately after the restart, I thought he was really playing well. And I think in a field like this, especially for a guy who hits it very long, and who's just terrible with the putter. I think he has as good of a shot as anybody in, like, let's say the 20 to 1 or 25 to 1 range. So I like List as an outright. So I certainly like him in DFS. He's one of those guys like, listen, you're looking for birdie makers. There's a couple eagle opportunities. Like Luke List is one of those guys in this field that can absolutely get you there. Sort of to the contrary would be another guy I like in this range, and that's Kyle Stanley. Not a super long hitter, but what like he's missed, I think he's only made 2 out of his last 5 cuts, I believe. And that's not very good. But interestingly, his ball striking metrics are really good. Like off the tee and approach are really good. But then you look at the putter, and he's losing like several strokes with the putter in each tournament, in each round, really. So I like Kyle Stanley because I'm hoping he just kind of turns the putter around there. So those are 2 guys in the 8K range I really like. Now, Stanley, I think, is 8,100. Luke List is 8,700. The only other guys that I'm even really considering in terms of like putting a couple shares in my lineups are Adam Schenk. He was a former secret weapon. He's very solid. He should be good on this course. And Patrick Rogers. He's another guy that just recently, when I was doing my research, wasn't really grading out that well. But he is just one of those guys that I just think he's better than most of the guys in this tournament. And he certainly has the upside at 8,000 in DFS. I mean, this is a guy that if his recent form was even decent, he might be like 9,100 or something like that. So I like those guys in this 8K range quite a bit.
I love it. How about you, Joel? What do you got for this 8K range?
Yeah, I'm laughing at Patrick Rogers because he's one of those guys that is usually like 6,100, 6,200 that I'm on. I'm like 6,100. This guy's too cheap. He's better than that. We got to be playing him. And now at 8,000, I'm like, that's not too cheap for him. So I don't know if I should be playing him, but I usually like him. So I'm like torn because I like him as a golfer. But when I'm seeing this price tag, I'm like, this is not like a sneaky play. This is they're playing him as one of the main guys. This range, as you guys all know, I love Henrik Norlander. He's just like one of my favorite golfers on tour. Being honest with you, he doesn't grade out well for this course. Like his game does not say that he will be really strong here. I will play some shares of him for the reason that I just think he's a better golfer than most of the guys in the field. So just getting one of the best guys in the field at this price range, you can still build a pretty balanced lineup with him, I think is a good play. And that's the type of logic where I was kind of explaining why I'm not playing a lot of the higher end guys, because I'm like, Henrik Norlander is probably a better golfer than a lot of those guys. And for $1,000 less, I can still play him. Why not? Right? Why would I? I don't really have a big difference between him and, I'll just name one guy up there, Adam Long, right? Or Charles Howell. So from that standpoint, yeah, I'll fit him in there. I like Matthias Schwab. So he hasn't done much recently, so it's hard to really be on him right now. However, about 2 months ago, midsummer, when golf was really picking back up, he was popping on a lot of my models, and he was a sneaky play that we could put in there. Again, he's not popping now. He has been a little bit colder, but a guy that, when he is popping, when he is on, he can compete in the tougher fields. In this field, he has a hot week. He can easily win it. So for that reason, I'll have a few shares of him. And I really do. I'm definitely with Sia on Luke List. I think in this range, he's the best play. My concern with List is the fact that he's not a great putter. But the logic for this course is, this is a course that, the 3 of us could play when we're on vacation and, compete because, it's not a professional course. So if the 3 of us can put some putts in and play on this course, I got to think Luke List putting won't be he's not putting on wing, you know what I mean? He'll be all right. So I'm just thinking it's the easier course will help him, and I think he'll score really well this week. So those are the guys. But for the most part, it's the next range that I'm going to be heavily targeting.
I like that. Yeah, it's shout out Luke List. I'm sure he can figure it out. If the 3 of us can put something together, yeah, I'm confident Luke List too. And just in case anybody was curious, Matthias Schwab doesn't even have a picture on DraftKings. So that's how they respect him so little. Sia, can we play the narrative game on that one? Do you think?
I mean, I think half the guys don't have a picture on DraftKings.
I like the narrative. Let's force himself win this tournament.
Right. I don't know. You better give me a picture after this one, you sons of bitches. All right, Joel. So you said you're really heavy on this range, and the 7K range is very big. maybe don't. I don't know. Talk to me a little bit. If you start talking for too long, we'll switch to see it. If not, we'll let you keep talking. How's that sound?
Okay, I'll try and go quick because I do have a lot of guys in here. So let me just try and quickly touch on all the guys that I like in this range. I'll start with Matt Jones. Matt Jones is very long. Again, we said this is a course that will feature long hitters, so you're getting one of the longest hitters in the tournament with Matt Long. That's the main reason to go after him. I mean, his form is fine. He's he's probably fairly priced, if not maybe underpriced for this field comparing to the other guys, maybe the slot above him. So I actually think I'll be pretty heavy on him. I'm thinking 25% of my lineups for Matt Jones. Also, I have notes here. His course history is 18th last year and 28th 2 years ago. So he's done well. I mean, not top tens, but he's competed well in this course. So he's not like, it fits him for sure. Yep. Bryce Garnett. So Bryce Garnett, I will say is one of my guys. I like Garnett, especially if the numbers are saying play him, then I'm definitely going to. Even so, if you remember 2 weeks ago when there was another kind of not so good field, he was lower priced than this. So they came up on him. I think the models and the DraftKings, they also like him for this week for that reason. So I'm definitely going to be playing a good amount of him. He also has a pretty solid course history. Tied for 39 last year, won the tournament in 2018, number one. So you got to like that. And then he missed the cut 3 years ago. So you got a guy who can win this tournament. He's done it before. And he's a good golfer. So I'll definitely have a good amount of him. A guy that's been in bad form that I like this week is Jonathan Vegas. Now, Jonathan Vegas is like a cool guy. He's kind of like fun to root for. A lot of people want to kind of play him. He hasn't been playing well, just being honest with you. So keep that in mind. He's also a guy that I'll target a lot, which I will also this week, for first round leader bets. He had the ability to come out hot and then cool off. So I'll probably be looking at him for that. But you want to talk about a guy who can hit it really long, who is a better golfer than he's been playing the last 2 months. That's one of those where, it's obviously not the same as Bryson, but one of those where like it's time for him to come around and have a good round. So I like Vegas. A more unknown guy that I'm going after, who's just because he's been in really good form recently, is Rob Oppenheim. So Rob Oppenheim just got on my radar, maybe the last month or so. And especially when you're playing showdown slates and you're looking every day, you're seeing which guys are popping on a daily basis. And so that's when he got on my radar. He was popping for a lot of the showdown slates, even, the last 2 or 3 tournaments. So, in a shrunken field with less depleted competition, I'm going to go after him. I think this is a field where he can kind of shine and really come through as someone who can really compete here. Now, Will Gordon will be a popular guy that people will talk about this week. If you guys remember a month or two ago, he was like the rising star of the tour, right? He was like, oh, you got to be playing Will Gordon. I think there was a tournament earlier in the summer where he was like absurdly highly owned, one of the highest owned players in the whole field. He's cooled off from there, right? We're not there anymore. But listen, still the same guy, right? He's a good golfer. He's playing in a depleted field. And his ownership right now, what I'm looking at, it's higher for this range. It's probably actually the highest in this range. But there's a reason for that, right? So I like him. Now, one of my favorite plays is, you've heard me mention him a lot, my WWE superstar, Sheamus Power. Sheamus Power is like, listen, his name represents him well. He's powerful, and this is a course that you need to hit the ball far. So it's going to fit, personality wise, or his game fits the course. And I think he kind of started to get a reputation of being a guy that's like, his name kind of sounds like a WWE wrestler. He hits the ball far. He kind of came off as a little bit of a cartoon and not really competitive. But I think we saw over the last 2 months, and no, he's competed, and he's been in some tournaments, and he's got this year. He felt like he's put his full game together more than just kind of was a long hitter that didn't really do much else. So for that reason, I'm definitely going to have some shares of him.
Drive for show, putt for dough, right? I think that's what my dad used to tell me.
For sure, that's the truth.
How did that work out, my friend?
It didn't see it. That's why I'm here talking to you right now.
Indeed.
That's why I'm here talking to you right now. I'm also like 5'8", like $160, soaking wet, so I don't think I could get it too far anyway, even if I tried. Joel, is that just the top half of the range, or is that pretty much everybody for you?
Yeah, that's pop up. I need to
Okay,
take
cool.
who's
Yeah,
talking to me.
we'll roll with Sia in a second. Rob Oppenheim, no picture. Seamus Powers, no picture. Will Gordon, no picture. The one guy, Jonathan Vegas had a picture. The one guy you brought up, my goodness, Matt Jones. If you guys haven't yet, look at his picture. His eyes are so far apart on his head. Sia, talk to me about the top half
Wow.
of this
What a
7K.
jerk.
Top half of this 7K range. How do you? I mean, look at his picture, man. What do you want from me? Like, I don't know. Just here to observe. That's my role in the show. Talk to me about this top half of the 7K range.
By the way, I think Justin Thomas is about your dimensions, if you will, the 5'8", 160. I don't know, maybe the guy's 5'9" or 5'10", but he is tiny, so don't let that hold you back. Get out on that golf course and swing away, my friend.
I'll come down and visit you in Florida, and we'll do that. How's that sound?
That sounds good, actually. So listen, Bryce Garnett, I didn't have in my write-up, and I wasn't really on him, but I will co-sign there. I actually think Bryce Garnett's a very good golfer, and he might be mispriced here. He probably should be in the mid 8K range. As we go down, I do want to point out Graham McDowell won this thing last year, but I'm not going to be on him. I think Vegas is interesting. I'm actually surprised his ownership is as high as it is. It's like around 20%. I'm not going to be on him, but for showdown or for first round leader, I definitely endorse that part of Jonathan Vegas. I just don't think he's been playing quite that well. I just like other golfers more than him, particularly in this range. Oppenheim is interesting. When I looked at his ball striking metrics, I wasn't really that impressed, but I got to admit, he's sort of just showed up at the top of leaderboards, maybe not on Sundays, but on Thursdays and Fridays and sometimes even Saturdays, like you see Rob Oppenheim playing well. So that's interesting. Again, in a depleted field, maybe he starts to like really rise. But again, that's not a guy I'm really on. The guys that I'm really on, I will say Will Gordon is one of those guys. He's been really good off the tee. And Joel's right. He was like this DFS darling or PGA darling a couple months ago. And then he really cooled off. His approach game has been kind of bad. And his ownership percentage is a little high, but I will have some shares of Will Gordon there on Sunday. A couple other guys I like, but honestly, they're in the sort of that 7,500 and below range. You want me to go there, Michael?
Yeah, we can do that, and then we can hop over to Joel for the.
Well, I'll just pop in real quick before we change the topic, and this is for real golf, dude. Just while we're talking about it, I played golf this weekend, right? And I played with some buddies. One of the guys I played with is really good, way better than me. I stink. I have easily over 100 pounds on him, right? At least 100 pounds. He goes out there and is driving it well over 300, and if I hit a 250, I am stoked. So size in golf, like, yeah, Bryson is the longest hitter, but if you noticed, and now his name is slipping me, this is going to drive me crazy. Who was the runner-up at the BMW? The small guy, Spanish golfer.
You're talking about Abraham Answer?
No. At the BMW, he's a small guy. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy. He's a young up-and-comer. I'll look it up while you're going, and I'll get back to you. But anyway, he's like nothing, and he's one of the longest hitters. He crushes the ball. So that kind of stuff, like, yes, obviously it helps to be on steroids. I mean, to be like Bryson.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
But listen, there's a lot of these guys that are smaller guys that still hit the ball really far. It's about torque, about swing speed. So, yeah.
I appreciate both of you really trying to help me through this. It's really nice. I appreciate you're both good friends. I'm glad we do this show. And thanks. That's really, thank you guys. Maybe I have a new career path. Tell Jason I quit. See ya after this show's over. How's that sound?
Cool. We've been trying to get you out of here, Michael.
Taking long enough, but all you had to do was encourage me to be better. That's all it took.
So let's go 7,400. A guy I really like, and again, a guy that I think could be like sort of the class of the field, at least the class of this range is Chris Kirk. Chris Kirk is another sort of comeback story. If you want to talk about like it wasn't like a DFS darling like Will Gordon, but he's a guy that sort of like took some time off because he had some issues to deal with. He came back and he just started playing really well. He's not super long off the tee, so that doesn't help him, but he's been great off the tee, in general, in terms of accuracy, and his approach has been good. He's just one of those guys that I think honestly could be there on Sunday. So I like the value there at 7,400. And another guy I like that just grades out so well, and this is probably one of the last guys I like actually in this range, is, it's interesting. Let me just stop real quick. When a guy really has a boring name, unless he's like really, really awesome, like people aren't going to look that way. Like when you have like a name, like it might not even be a cool name, but just something that's like fun to say, like a Sepp Straka. Like, oh, I want to play Sepp Straka. It's like fun to say the name.
Jonathan
so there's
Vegas.
A guy. Say it again.
Jonathan Vegas. Of course.
Jonathan Vegas. That's a
I want to play that
very
guy.
good example. Very good example. I want to gamble on Jonathan Vegas. How beautiful is that?
Mhm.
Well, the most boring name in this entire field, $7,300, grades out well, is right now tracking at 5% ownership, which is pretty awesome. Doug Gim. Yeah. Never heard of him, right, Michael?
I
Doug
haven't.
Gim. The ball striking metrics are there. This guy is a legitimate golfer, and I think he's got a ton of value here. And I don't think anybody's going to play him because his name is Doug Gim, and I'm going to be playing him. He's actually going to. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be overweight. He's only at 5%, but I'm going to have quite a few shares of this guy. So I'm going to roll the dice here.
Another guy at 7,300, Wes Roach. That's kind of gross. So get a little both. Get a little bit of both.
Well, I will say, see, you're right that he's incredibly like boring and like he's one of those guys that no one ever like talks about or plays. I have written him up on a Showdown article once for
Nice.
good for him, and I also like him this week. So you're 100%
Nice.
right. He'll be under owned. His metrics show that he should play well here, and I think you're right. I think he's like underappreciated because he's just like this boring name, and it's like he's not great. But like, listen, guys that can finish top 40s in this tournament are like that's equivalent of top 10s because all the guys that are normally the top 30 aren't even in here. So now those guys are moving up. So he is like he's good. He's just not great. And when you take out all the great players, now he's one of the best guys. So I like him. I'm with you on that one.
And coming in with good form, 14th at the Safeway as well 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, no, I'm with you on Doug. I think that's a good play. And what I wanted to just say is I looked it up. It's Joaquin Neiman. He was the little guy that crushes the ball that was doing well the other week. So sorry, I had to get that out. I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about it. But for the rest of this range, the guys that I like, one guy that I want to just kind of make sure two guys I want to make sure everyone has their radars are. I'm gonna have small percentages on, but two guys in this range I do want to mention are Roger Sloan and JJ Spawn. If you guys remember, JJ Spawn at the 3M Open now, that was back in early August, I believe. He actually won like the competition, which was like chipping onto the umbrella, and like he made some like great shot. Ended up doing like terrible. That shot for some reason made him stick in my mind. And then I was like, well, just because he made that chip, I can't play him. I don't really know much else about him. The next week he ended up doing really well in the tournament, and like the next week he ended up having like a top 30 finish. I think he's a good golfer. He has not been like in great form. I'm not gonna say he hasn't. He has been, but I think he's one of those guys that benefits greatly from there not being the elite guys to compete with. I think when you move that from the field, I think he becomes pretty interesting. So for that, I just want to have him on our radar, make sure he's someone that you can play. Another guy in that same kind of vein is Scott Harrington. He's kind of Scott Harrington, maybe because of name association, because like they're kind of generic names, but he has a lot of similarities to me as a golfer to Patrick Rogers from the sense of like, you know, he's usually underpriced. He's one of those underpriced guys that I like to play. But now that he's not underpriced, I'm confused because I'm like, wait, he's supposed to be like a value play, and now he's just a regular guy. So from that standpoint, I put those two in the same kind of vein. I think one guy who's just like a fan favorite, I'm not going to be playing him, but I think a guy I want to just mention is CT Pan. CT Pan is someone I will play probably Showdown a bunch this week. So look out for like Showdown stuff if you want to get him out there for one day. Hard to trust Pan for 4 days. He's known to have a blow up or two, so I won't be playing him for the whole week, but for a Showdown slate, I think he'd be someone that'd be good to target this week. And then the last guy here that I'll mention, there's two more guys I want to mention. It's Ryan Armour. So Armour is a guy that maybe not like statistically based on distance is someone that's great for this course. But if you remember in July, he had 2 top 5 finishes, back-to-back tournaments. This is a guy that can compete with the elite. So when you put him in this field, he's got to be like he's one of the guys that's like if they priced him in the mid-9s, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. So the fact that he's down here, it's like there's not really a difference. So the fact that he could be in any of those ranges, I think is just a good value to get into some of your lineups. And then the last guy in this range that I want to mention is Patton Kizzire. So Kizzire was a guy that I played a few weeks ago because mainly of course history. He had performed really well at that course, and he came through. Where he was like, came through for his price, right? He wasn't in the tournament, but he came through and did what I needed to do to cash. So he's a good golfer. And again, I think it's the same process. He's not as good as Ryan Armour, but he's similar. He's one of those guys that if he was priced in the 8K range, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. So I just feel like it's a good value at this price.
I love that. And just to make sure, for Ryan Armour, it was tied 6th at the Travelers and then tied 4th at the Rocket Mortgage last week in June, first week in July. So just wanted to make sure people were checking it out there. Cause yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. If he can do that in a, real field, if I may, why the hell can't he do it here? So
Exactly.
I love it.
Also, I think it's pronounced armor, even though it's not spelled that way. So just FYI.
Why?
We had to make it more fancy for him. We wanted to make sure.
You did. It was very, yes, passionate.
Yes. Let me twist my mustache while I say this at you. All right, cool. So that is the 7K range. We have the 6K range. It's crazy deep. As you both have said this whole time, there's really no point in. I'm sure there's a couple guys you like. Obviously, C is gonna have a secret weapon. We don't have to dive that deep down into this hole, but most of our lineup is going to be constructed, it sounds like, of maybe 1 or 2 of those top guys and then a bunch of the 8 and the 7K guys, which makes sense. I've kind of just been making one along with you. I have one 10K guy, one 9.5, and then a bunch of these 7K guys that you guys all. And honestly, if you just kind of switch the pricing around, as you said, Joel, you guys were kind of lamenting as much on both as you were. So it didn't really matter. It sounds like I just kind of picked the guys that you like the most. Turns out I can make a lineup with it. So Sia, with this 6K range, again, we don't have to dip too deep down into this, but who are some of the guys that, maybe just you need to sprinkle in a couple? Some of the guys.
Just a few guys on my radar. And, I want to say Hudson Swafford, but the stats just were too awful for me to recommend him. So I might have him in a lineup or 2 lineups, but not a big fan. The 3 guys I like, by the way, I have JJ Spawn written up in my article as well on windailysports.com. So I do like him, but I specifically said this is a dart throw GPP play, absolutely no cash. And, when JJ Spawn is not a guy you would be leaning on to win, but he can win you, obviously he can win you a GPP. The 3 guys are Keurig Afebarnrat, Hank Lebioda, and Aaron Baddeley. I like them sort of for different reasons. Kiradek has actually been, just from a career standpoint, has been very good. I don't really know where his game is at, but if his game is in an average form, then he's obviously mispriced, because this is a guy that in this field should be, in the high 7s. Now, I say that with a grain of salt because, again, I haven't seen Kiradek play in quite some time. And the last time he did play, I don't think he was very good. But again, at 6,600, he's just a guy that that name sort of jumps out at me. Hank Lebioda is a guy I like because he hits the ball a mile, and he's actually been pretty good lately. His ball striking metrics have been good. And then Aaron Baddeley, he's one of those guys that even in talented fields, he's in that 6,500 range or something, and he's the guy I'll try to fit in because I'm trying to fit in a couple guys up top, and I really never have any qualms doing that. So at 6,600 in this field, I think, and by the way, I think he was 7th here last year on this particular track. So he's a guy that I think, again, his form lately, I'm looking at it, it's obviously not very good. That's why he's priced here, but he's a guy that I think if you're dipping into this range, you could potentially lean on.
I love it. A couple of those guys, Mr. Afebarnrat. Yeah, he hasn't played too much since the restart. It looks like he's played in 2 tournaments, Safeway and the Wyndham. Missed the cut up both of them, but -1 and even. So guess it could be worse. And also, of course, Sia has his secret weapon that will be released on Discord tomorrow. Give me the it's under 5% owned and just in the 6K range, or is it under 6,500? Remind me on that.
No, just in the 6K range. Sometimes it is under 6,500, but just in the 6K range and under 5% owned. And they've all been successful. I mean, I've been doing this for 3 months. Not one has missed the cut. Literally not a single person has missed the cut. This is under 5% owned and in the 6K range. And a few of them have top 10. Most of them are, admittedly middling and maybe top 20 or 25, but still they're bringing you value because of the range that they're in, obviously.
That's what we're looking for. That's, again, how we fit some of these heavier weight guys or these top price guys in that lineup. That's what we can dip down, grab that secret weapon, and pretty much just cash that check right away, because that's what C is here to do, help you cash checks. Joel, talk to me about the 6K range. Where are you looking for some of these guys?
I want to quickly just kind of give Cia some credit for that, because I'm not sure if you guys realize how hard that is to actually do. Picking these guys in this range is, I mean, in this field, I would say maybe even not as hard as a regular field doing that with the big guys is that's a really impressive. The fact that he's on a heck of a streak, and my recommendation is ride it because hot streaks are real. And if you can get a guy like locked in to make the cut in that range, it's so helpful for roster construction. So that's definitely big, and ride the secret weapon kind of moving forward. Few guys I like in this range. I will comment on Baddeley. So Baddeley's a guy I never play. I always look at him and I'm like, who's playing this guy, Baddeley? How can you play him, right? And then I always notice him like one or day two, he's like, oh, this guy's in the top 20 again. Like, maybe I should have played him. What am I doing? So now this week, I'm playing him. First time, I'm not going to look at the leaderboard and be like, should have played him this week because I'm going to play him. I'm going to have him, and we're going to win money on that. So I like Baddeley. Now, there's 3 guys in this range that I really like, and I'm going to be fully transparent with you, 2 of whom I have not heard of until today, to be honest. I forgot who they were today, but my research says these are good plays, and I'm going to give you reasons why. The first one being Kelly Craft. Okay. Kelly Craft, again, being honest, never heard of him before. But Kelly Craft is 6,400.
Fun to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so I'm already endorsing this, but please go on with your research. But I'm already all in.
His name is fun to say. So that's it's already plus. 2, he's $6,400. So like you can get super creative with putting him in your lineup. 3, he's going to be really low owned. No one's going to have him because no one knows who he is. And then 4, and the big one. And I guess people should know this because this is information you can easily look up. The last 2 years, he finished 5th and 3rd. So he's played really well here. And so with that kind of course history, it's like, all right, yeah, this is a guy that we should be targeting because he's proven it on this course more than one time. And that's kind of how I narrowed down these kind of sneaky plays for myself this week was let me just look through the course history and figure out who has had multiple successes. One success, hard to target a guy that one time did it. They've done it twice. Well, now, okay, there's a trend. They actually have something going on here. So he's done it twice. He's someone I'm going to be targeting. And the other guy, 6,300, is George McNeil. He's finished 7th and 13th here in the last 2 years. That's 2 top 15 finishes. Again, I've never heard of him, but if you've finished 2 top 15 finishes in the last 2 years, in this field, it's not like he's got to beat Bryson, JT, Rory. Like, you don't know how to beat them, right? You're telling me you're going to be shocked if he beats Luke List? Like, yeah, Luke List is definitely favored, but I'm not going to be floored if he beats him. So those are guys that I'm definitely going to be targeting, knowing that they've performed well at this course. And then the last one in this range that I have my eye on is Nate Lashley. So Nate Lashley is a guy I have heard of. He was like a DFS darling a few months ago. People were like, you got to be on Nate Lashley. You know, he's going to be a sleeper. That's fallen off. He hasn't been in great form. However, what we know about Nate Lashley is he crushes the ball off the tee, which you know you're going to need to do on this course. He's really long. He's won this tournament before 3 years ago, 2017. He has a 28th place, which is okay, and he's missed the cut. So he can win the tournament. He's done it. He's also performed well, not great, but well. I think he's definitely someone at least to have some small shares on when you're building lineups this week.
One note on Nate Lashley, tied 37th at the PGA Championship. So that's not bad.
He's a good golfer. And that's another one of those where it's like when you're building your lives, like a guy who can tie 37th in the PGA should be priced under 7,000 in a field that doesn't have any major golfers in it. Like, yeah, you won't be surprised if he beats any of those guys that are ranked in the 9,000s because none of those guys are great.
Yeah. Granted, he made only one other cut the entire restart, and he's played in a few tournaments, but still. That's the important one. PGA Championship, man. Made a lot of money on that one. Shout out that guy. Shout out Nate Lashley. Paid for this whole vacation.
Like we said earlier in the podcast, we're playing this for GPPs, and that's the epitome of a GPP play, right? Like, if he makes a cut, he does well, right? If he falls apart, you're going to lose anyway. So take your shot on the guys that will get you there.
Make some money with Sia. How about this 6K range? How you feeling?
No, that's it. I gave you my 6K.
Oh, yeah,
range.
you already did our 6K. Oh, my God.
You got to watch the show.
Oh, shit, I should go back and watch the show. Damn it. All right. I guess I got some more work to do tonight, huh? So now that's the DFS part, apparently. We are out. We still have Sia's secret weapon. Okay, I did this. Sia's secret weapon. And then we waxed poetic about Sia and how incredible it was. Yeah, that was great. I do remember this now. I remember. Did you just comb your hair? What was that?
It was my pen.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just okay. Anyway, so that was the DFS part. And the second part of the show, which we like probably just as much, we just don't really have to talk about nearly as much because we just went over the entire field, is we're going to give you some outrights. We're going to give you some first round leaders, And I think we can start giving some matchups. We were doing that last week. That was kind of fun. There were some pre-flop
Yeah.
matchups that we can look at a little bit. And then Joel's going to give us some top 40s because apparently it's like betting, I don't know, the Washington Football Club to beat the Eagles outright, which is kind of cool too. So if I can get plus 200 on a guy to finish in the top 40, shoot, man, count me in. I am all over that. So Sia, let's start with you. I already have Luke List written down, 45-1. Sorry if you said that, so I had to write it down already. Who else do you have as just straight up outright for the tournament?
So I did mention that I liked Burns at 20-1, but I don't like to give the 30-1 or shorter plays. So Denny McCarthy at 33-1. And it's not just because 33 is my lucky number. I do think Denny McCarthy can win this tournament. Luke List at 45-1. Will Gordon at 70-1. But I'll admit that of all the ones I like, that's probably the one I like the least. Doug Gim at 80-1. And then my last one is Chris Kirk at 80-1. So these are all like reasonable, I should say, somewhat long shot plays that you can, anything between 33 and 80-1, I consider, a pretty solid price. So those are the 5 guys I like.
Do you have the odds up in front of you right now?
Yeah.
Who's the guy we really like? Kelly Craft.
Yes.
I want to put $1 on that guy just for his name, honestly. If we're putting $1 on Doug Gim because of his name, we gotta at least give Kelly Craft $1, right?
Kelly Craft is 200-1 to win the tournament.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Well, if you want a more immediate return, you could always just take him as a first round leader. I'm just saying.
What is the?
Look that up.
I'm gonna have to look that up. It's probably going to be a little shorter than the 200-1.
That's true. 200-1. 200-1 for Kelly Craft.
The first round leader is 100-1.
It's 100-1. Yeah.
Okay. Not worth it.
Still pretty good.
Not worth it. Not worth it. I'm not here to play games with Kelly Craft. Joel, how do you feel about these outrights? Who do you like?
Yeah, so I think this is a field where I think the value is to target some of those, like you said, some of those top 30, top 40. And for this one, I don't want to get too confusing and start messing around. But instead of just kind of start listing everyone's odds, I'm just going to list you the guys. And then you pick, listen, if you really feel good, you want to go top 20, get a little better odds, good. If you want to go 40, listen, if you're more conservative, go 40 because the most sickening thing is the better guy top 20 and he finishes like 25 and you're like, I was right there. That's the worst, right? So you go top 40, yes, you might lose a couple points, but you're going to be way happier when you win at the end of the weekend. Win is a win and you have your money in your account. So I tend to go shyer on because my thought is if I want to do a big payout, I'm just going to bet on somebody to win because that's what the big payout is. And if I just want to win a bet, let's just go with top 40 because that's safe. So the guys that I like, and I do, I mean, there is something to that. I mean, we were laughing about it, but at the end of the day, the guy finished top 10 the last 2 years. So I like him. Like, why not? Like, he can compete, and I don't need him to finish top 10. I need him to finish top 40, and I did looking for him. He's plus 335. So that's pretty good odds. If you put one unit on it, you're getting a nice return. That's a pretty big NFL upset that you'll get. So I'm going to definitely take him for top 40 for sure.
You're playing the pronoun game. Who is it?
Kelly Craft.
Kelly Craft. Okay, cool. I'll put another $1.
Another guy that I like for the top 40 is it's a bet, right? You got to be gambling. It's a hit or miss. I like JJ Spawn. I you know what? There's something about me telling me he's going to play well this week. And the reason my main hesitation, to be honest with you, is on the podcast, I want to say top 40 because it's the safest and most likely to return. More realistically, I'm probably going to be playing it like top 15 or top 10 because I think he's going to have a good week, and that's where the value will be. Like, he's very likely could implode, and like then you just lose everything. So, maybe for him, it might be better to go top 20 because he's kind of like hit or miss from that standpoint. And then what I really want to touch on for this tournament, and I'll just kind of skip around, is first round leader bets. Because I think there's a really good opportunity here to target some guys for first round leader. And the first one who I already started mentioning earlier is Jonathan Vegas. He's a guy that's like on my like list of guys that I'm just like normally on for first round leader. Now I will be honest, the reason why I'm normally on for first round leader is more so because he's a lower valued guy in a bigger field. So your odds for him getting the first round leader are like supreme. So if you can get, you can put $20 to win like $3K, then it's a lot of fun. I'm like, let me try doing that. Now here, his odds are still pretty good. You're getting 60-1, right? Is that what it is? 60-1 or
yeah,
60-1. Putting $20 on that is still a pretty nice return, and in a field where he actually is one of the better golfers, so it's not even like that crazy of a long shot. I definitely like him. So like even if you don't hit the day one leader, I definitely like him for showdown like 1 days. He's one of those guys that can definitely go really low. And the last guy I'll target for round one leader is Will Gordon. Right, I think Will Gordon's a guy that I just have a feeling that it's going to be the narrative will be. We knew it, right? This was the guy we were supposed to be targeting. Leading after day one, like there he is, right? It was obvious. So I'm going to put a couple shekels on that, and so when that actually happens, I can say I think I did know it and I bet on it.
I told you so. That's always half the fun of the bet too, right? Just telling other people that you told them. Sia, for the rest of your first round leaders, who else do you like?
So I have 6 that I wrote down. The last one I don't even really believe in. I just wrote it down. I don't know why. But one of those 6 I already know is going to be the first round leader. So I'm going to save that for last. Okay.
Holy shit. Are you breaking
it's,
news again? That
yeah,
doesn't
breaking
really
news.
become breaking news.
Well, yeah,
It was
let's
like
just we have a very
close to
small sample
breaking
size.
news. I don't know.
Okay, so here are my first round leaders that I like, but I'm going to hold the one back. Okay, Ventura I like at 45 to 1. List, I've already mentioned I like as an outright. I like him day one, 55 to 1. Patrick Rogers at 66 to 1. Christian Kirk and Seamus Power are both 80 to 1. I was going to mention Bronson Burgoon at 90 to 1 just because his name is fun to say as well, but that is actually not one of my first round leader bets.
Okay.
The one that is a first round leader bet that I already know. Hold on. Wait a minute. Michael, what day is it?
Tuesday.
Right. What time is it?
About 9:07 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. So Tuesday, 9:07 p.m. Eastern. We're about like 46 hours from that first round leader being determined. Is that accurate?
You know I'm not good with
give
math.
Or take.
I don't know why you do this to me in front
math.
of all these people.
I know. I'm sorry.
You're kind of being a dick.
I'm your first round leader. I want everybody to put money on this.
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to put money on this. Are you ready? Joel, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm locked in.
At 50 to 1, your first round leader is Kyle Stanley. Boom. Put money on it. Trust me. It's already locked in. Just put money on it. It's already locked in.
I think I might be too late. The line might have already moved because all these people are listening to you. Damn it. Oh, I got to get there quick. Kyle Stanley, 50 to 1 at the PGA Corrales Puntacana Resort and Club Championship. I love that. Leader after round one. I just need to scroll to 55.
It's a guaranteed winner.
What did you say, Kyle Stanley? It already went to 50. It already went to 50. Oh wait,
yeah, that's because that's what I said.
Yeah.
Do you watch the show?
Do I listen to the show? I think that's the question. All right, my bet is locked, and I can't wait to pull out. I put $2 on it, so let's.
You're welcome. That's $100 is a lot of money.
That's what I mean. I'll take it. That's all like. It's like 100 DFS lineups. But anyway, that's what we're here to do.
Or in Joel's case, 1/20th of one DFS lineup.
Yes. We all play differently, and we don't shame here. We all just like to have a good time and win money together. Money is, I guess, equal, but it's also different. Somebody write that down. That is a beautiful, beautiful saying. Anything else? Sia, anything else, Joel?
No, it's not. No, it's not a beautiful saying.
Good? Okay, cool.
It's not.
Thank you for that.
Let me give 2 head-to-heads that I saw on DraftKings. And every site, I shouldn't say every site, but I know the site I use has different head-to-head pre-flop matchups. So, take this for what it's worth. Hopefully you have these matchups. If you don't, get into the expert Discord, which you can get in for free by going to Win Daily Sports /chat. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you can literally talk to us throughout the entire tournament about, 18-hole matchups, or if it's before Thursday, 72-hole matchups. Burns against Charles Howell III. I mean, it's -110. I like that so much. I almost think it's a trap, but I'll absolutely take Burns over Howell and Kyle Stanley over Brian Stewart. I know Brian Stewart's pretty solid, but clearly I'm on the Kyle Stanley train this tournament. So I will go ahead and take that one as well.
And I will make sure to clip the piece out of the show where you say that Kyle Stanley already was the first round leader. And I'll make sure to release that after the tournament starts. So that way everybody knows, and then we'll let the internet play judge and jury. How's that sound?
Perfect. Love it.
Perfect.
I want to touch on one more thing. So I think a cool thing to look at if you want to bet this week on the tournament, and just looking at this field is, so a lot of the way that DraftKings, like the sportsbook, will make these lines is I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do the salaries for DFS first, and then kind of base what they're going to do for like odds and whatnot off of that. So it's very kind of like robotic. Like, hey, this is how we kind of correlate everything. So if you look at, and I think the thought is, a lot of these guys, somebody has to be at the top.
Mhm.
I don't think it's like a landslide. I just think they have to place somebody at the top. So if you look at it, I think the same concept that we were talking about last week with DJ to miss the cut and betting it, you should be doing here. If you don't like somebody, like bet them to miss the cut. Like these aren't great golfers, so just because they're priced high, they could easily miss the cut, like just not have a good first 2 days. So I like those bets, especially because you're getting 3, 2.5 to 1, and like you're telling me, just take a random shot at Charlie Hoffman at 2 to 1 to miss the cut. Like, sure. Like, if you don't like Charlie Hoffman, like, take that. So, those are the types of bets here that I would look at because I think that's where you're getting value. They have to put leaders up there, and just because they have to, I think you're getting the value by betting on some of these guys who you don't think will do well to miss the cut.
Joel is shorting the market, everybody. Let's jump on the train with him. I mean, if he knows what he's doing, right? He sees a sure thing. We're gonna put all our money into it. Now, I mean, it makes sense, especially with this type of field. We don't know what the hell's gonna happen. Let's be honest. We have some past performance, we have some metrics, we have some statistics, but again, we're at the Corrales Puntacana Resort and Club Championship, which, as we already established, the three of us could play. And honestly, from both of your encouragement, I might just become a PGA golfer now, because I did look it up. Justin Thomas, 5'10", 160. So he's got a couple inches on me, but that's about it. So I think that is it for us today over here at Win Daily Sports. Again, windailysports.com/chat, 7 days free to our expert chat where you get to ask Sia all your questions about who are you betting, when are you betting, what's the head-to-head, yada, yada, yada. You're going to ask Joel everything about the showdown because he's always crushing those. But Sia, just in case somebody wants to see what you're up to on like just a random Wednesday night, maybe you're not grinding PGA lineups, or maybe it's a Thursday and you're checking out the football game, where can everybody find you on the internet?
And by the way, another reason to get into the expert chat, of course, is to thank me for winning all that money on Kyle Stanley.
Oh, yes.
So again, it's free for 7 days. So it's
currently
just the right thing to do.
Currently 9/13 on September the 22nd, Tuesday, September the 22nd. So
yes. So you're welcome ahead of time, but I'd appreciate you coming in.
Could you go grab your newspaper for us and maybe take a picture with the?
I can't believe you know what a newspaper is.
Hey man, I'm young.
That is
not stupid.
just fantastic.
I'm
That's just good parenting right there.
Bad at math, not stupid. But anyway, where can everybody find you?
Anyway, they can find me at Sianejad, Sianejad, and they can find you and me tomorrow on the NFL Betting Lines show with Nick Bretwish.
Yes, with Sticks Picks. Absolutely. Joel, talk to me. Where can everyone find you on the internet?
You can find me at Draftmaster Flex everywhere and anywhere. It's the same name.
Same name, flexing on them. You can find me at Michael Raziel 1. Again, make sure to follow us at Win Daily Sports, windailysports.com/chat. It's free chat, not just to PGA. It is for everything NFL as well. So you'll get the entire NFL weekend to win a lot of money with us, because it's kind of been a joke with Nick's model. I'm not going to lie. It's been kind of ridiculous how much we've been winning. So that's been a lot of fun. But again, everybody, we hope you make it a very profitable evening.